Okay, Georgetta Cars, we're going to start today with our landscape, and we're just going to do clouds and a little bit of the sky today. So let's get started. So I have my large wash brush, and I'm going to dip it in my water and then off on my paper. So I'll show you my papers here. I actually have just bunch of papers, but you could use a towel, and I have my colors set up and my palette ready to go. So let's get started. So I'm going to start with a little bit of tea white and some blue, and this is what I want the sky to be. I think that I'm going to start, usually I would start with the lighter colors, but I want to show you a different method. So I'm just using the brush, kind of fanning it across here again, just lightly of where I want the sky to be. And what I can do is I can take a clean rag or a clean kind of paper and just kind of smooth that out. So again, I have that light kind of blue appearance. And I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to have it a little bit more intense. I don't have to wipe it out, but in this case, I am. Again, I could smooth it out with a brush, but I want to give it that appearance of being very misty, almost like if it was in a fog. And I want to go again, and I want to take a little of my ultramarine blue and put it at the top, and just put it around here. And I'm doing that again, and I kind of get this foggy kind of feeling. And we're going to do it one more time around here. And we're going to add a little bit of water here. And I'm just kind of, again, lightly pushing that with the brush where I get this kind of feeling. And then at the bottom, I'm going to wipe it out a little bit more. I'm going to go again, just a little bit here. I'm going to have this be a lake, and I want it to reflect the sky. So we have this beautiful blue coming from the sky into the lake. And this is what I have so far. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean my brush, and I'm going to move to some oranges. And now I have a little bit of orange. And you know, usually I'm working light to dark. In this situation, I am not doing that. I'm working around. As you can see, my next color that I'm putting on, even though I'm going to have a yellow here, I am adding this orange. Okay, and I'm going to put this a little bit down here in the water, and maybe some here and here. And again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to use a clean, dry rag, and I'm going to take it, and I'm going to kind of wipe this off. And you know, as we discussed, the first layer is going to be really thin. You're really not going to see the orange that much. And then we're going to start building it up as we go more into it. And we're putting those layers down. Right, if we were doing an abstract painting, we could maybe just leave it where we're just having these sharp borders show, and that could be enough. But in this situation, we're just laying down the basics here. And again, we're just going in these like little circular motions because I do want some of this orange to blend into the blue in certain areas. Sometimes you might take paint off of the canvas. That's okay, we can go back again. Like I took off this blue here. So I'm going to use another brush. I'm going to go back, and I'm just going to put that blue back where it was. Sometimes when you have water dripping too on the canvas, you really don't want that. You know, you want the paint to be thick, but sometimes it could work for you in this situation if you had a landscape where you're having the water and you wanted different variations where some of the water would be, you know, very translucent, and we would have different types of layers and shadows. You can kind of put that on, and now you can see This is gonna be my water here. Okay, and we're kind of left with this. We got this going on now. And then the next step is I'm gonna bring in some yellow, and I'm going to use a different brush, another, probably this time a flat, and it's a little bit smaller, as you can see, and you can see the edge is a little bit rounded here. And I'm gonna go straight with the yellow. I'm not really gonna add that much white because I'm going just basically on top of this very softly and just kind of brushing it. So now I have these yellow areas that are coming through, okay? And I might have some here in the sky. We can get really creative, okay? And I have this, and then maybe I'll go back now. I can have my orange on the brush, and I can pull in some orange here. And I have it a little bit darker in some areas because now I'm just masking out these areas, and I'm going where I know where the clouds are going to be, and I'm just blocking out these areas now. Well, I know, okay, this is going to be really orange, and this is going to be a little bit softer, where my eye just blends. And again, same method. You're just going to get your beautiful rag here. And you can see why I'm showing you this, because you get lots of layers. Let me show you up close. You get this wonderful layer, all these layers coming together. Now we're going to cover this with white. And I'm still going to keep the orange, a little bit of that orange in my brush. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move in here with my white, and I'm kind of just moving my brush in these kind of like little circular kind of patterns, and I'm looking to see how I want the clouds to lie. As we discussed, some clouds are really thick and they have a lot of white in them. Sometimes we don't see that, and this is where we can get really creative with the paint. Do we want to pick up more of that puffy kind of white cloud, or do we want to just leave it like this where it's kind of just blended? And what I'm doing is I'm just kind of blending these areas where they meet. So the edges, so here I have an edge that happens to be orange, and I'm blending it in with this blue. That's all I'm doing basically at this point. And I'm going to start building up these clouds down here. And I showed you many different ways to do clouds when we were kind of, remember, dotting them and dabbing them. These are a little bit more impressionist, kind of round kind of clouds, where we're building up the sky and we're just making it thicker as it goes along. Now we need some kind of point of reference. So I'm going to be building this up a little bit more. And you have to remember, when you are painting, that's what you're doing, right? You're going and you're building upon one layer on top of another layer. So don't be afraid, like if you think that you're making a mistake, oh, I need to cover this. No, you might not. You might need to, you might go back over it, you might cover it, you might not like it. But that's the wonderful thing about painting, right? Is that you can always change what's going on in your landscape. And you can personalize and make it your own. And what I'm trying to do is I'm really trying to bring out this sunset. And I want to do layers on top. And, you know, if I was using oils, I might have a little bit of terp in my brush. But in this situation, I have just a little bit of water where I can do this layering lightly on top and really bring out these colors that will be happening in the sky. And I don't lose the transparency. You know, you could use a gel medium if you wanted to, but that would also, you know, depending on how hard you would press with the brush, this way you're really getting all those layers, and you can see we can do this in just a couple of minutes. We don't have to spend that much of time. And now we're bringing in these shadows, as you can see in the clouds. And what's going to happen here is I'm going to have a mountain, so I'm not going to worry about that. And I still haven't cleaned my brush. And now I'm going to bring in my burnt umber, And I'm going to use my half blade palette knife, which you know is one of my best friends. Here we go. And I'm going to start with the darker color in this situation. And again, I'm just making this up as we go. And I'm just kind of making the shape for these mountains as I'm putting them on with the palette knife. Just going and picking them up. And I'll show you, when I do this, I'm pressing. And the reason why I'm pressing and then lifting it off the paper or the canvas is because I really want to get these imprints. And I'm going to go back in here. And what I'm going to do is, where these negative spaces are in the mountain, I'm going to add other colors when they dry. So if I had oils, obviously I'd have to wait. You know, with the acrylics, I could use a heat gun or let it dry on its own, but I'll show you that texture. Do you see how that texture works for your mountain and for the sky? And then we're gonna go back on here and we're gonna do, you know, another texture. But that's where you wanna be at least, you know, 5 minutes in, 10 minutes in, for your painting. And then we're just gonna use another brush and we're just gonna drag this down here for now, these shadows. This is drastically going to change as far as the shape, but I'm just bringing this down here and I'm just dragging it with my brush. And you'll see a little bit of this white that I have underneath when I did this layering takes in here. We have a nice effect where we're gonna have some browns coming down, but also some whites into these little areas of the blue. And you really want to drag down the color where you see the reflection. Because sometimes reflections are going across and they're going down. And what we're going to do is we're just going to play with this a little and we're going to loosen it, because you'll learn that when you look at reflections, what is happening in the when you're looking at these reflections, what's happening is some of the water is going across, some of it's coming down. So we're going to drastically change this area and bring down this blue here. And then we're going to put a layer at the bottom, which is going to be our last step. And we're going to use another brush that's kind of, we call it a flat, but it's a little bit large here at the end. And we're just going to mix some brown, some umber brown, some phthalo green, and we have a little bit of cad yellow. And we're just going to mix it together till we have this really dark color. And we're just going to kind of dot it down here just to give ourselves a sense of reference. I'm going to show you how this is drastically going to change. But for now, we're just going to do this. And we're going to cover this. And again, this is maybe, you know, a different way that you can paint and practice also, you know, just mixing your colors at the same time. And we kind of have this, okay? And then we can work more into it because it's nowhere near finished, right? We have to put the colors for the mountains. We have to do these washes, which I'm going to bring down these beautiful colors that we have from the sky. So I have like some nice, you know, oranges that I'm going to be bringing down here. But we have to, you know, if you're using oils, of course, you're going to do it very lightly with the turp. You want to wait till it dries. And then we're going to bring down some yellows. And you can see I'm doing these washes. And again, this is going to be all built up. It's not the way, it's not anywhere finished. I think that sometimes students want to do a painting and they're like, oh, I want to finish it in like 2 minutes, and that's impossible, right? We're going to have to wait for certain things to happen, for the paint to mix. And you just also have to have a good time doing it. You have to be really loose with your brush and really pay attention to where those lights and shadows are. And, you know, sometimes when you're doing a painting, you might just have like a mock painting where, in other words, this is what you're just doing now, but you might make the painting larger, right? So I want to show you at the bottom. You see all these reflections coming in here? This is a work in progress. It has so much more to be done. But we can't work, so fast. We can't rush because it's just going to be muddy. So we just have to wait. And that's when I move usually to another painting. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some sand down here, just a sand color that's drastically going to change. But I just want to show you in step one, like where we would be before we go and put those clouds on top. Okay, so it's kind of important. We still have to work up this area. Again, we're just starting. Now I'll show you something. We could go with a small palette knife or with a smaller knife. And what we could do is go back on top of those areas and put a lighter color on top. And we could really exaggerate that color. We could go with a really bright orange. So let's just say, got this bright orange going on. And we might put it on top here. And we're going to build, this whole mountain is going to be all orange, but now we're just putting where these highlights are going to be. Okay. And again, this is drastically going to change. I'm going to just put some orange areas here. We're going to wait till this dries, and we're going to put another color. I'll show you how that works. Okay. The other reason why is I'm also using something different than my tea white. I'm using a modeling paste, so I'll show it to you. It's kind of like this flexible modeling paste here, and it's more like a gel medium. It's really thick and white. It does help you get texture right away, and it helps, it takes a longer time to dry, obviously. Imagine a very thick gesso. So if I was doing this with just regular white acrylic paint, it would be a little bit different. But I wanted to show you in this video of how you could get this texture really right away, and it mixes really well with these acrylic paints. And I'll just show you the mountains up close, and you can see how thick that is from afar. And we're just going to build this up, and we're just going to make this a texturized dream. And I'm going to go a little bit more with that green that I had. And I'm just going to kind of put it here. Again, we're still building up this area. And we're going to bring back the blues, It's just got this green down here and this green here. And it's quite different when you're doing something impressionist because you're just kind of making an impression of the painting, as you see. You're not trying to capture everything within there. When this dries, we're going to end up putting some blues back in here, and we're also going to put some whites. And again, I'll show you, when we're using this modeling paste, it's kind of interesting because it's almost like a gel. So you can, build it up. You see a little bit of white. It's close to what I would think of as a very thick gesso, but imagine it transparent, almost like a gel medium. So and now if I press really hard in here, I can pull out some of those white areas. It's really great of how it, you can manipulate the canvas just with your strokes of where you want the white to be and how it works with this sense of light. Or if you want to put more, color on top, kind of make the clouds like this. I'll show you that scraping kind of feeling. I'm going to layer it again, but you really build it up. We have to bring all this white in here anyway. We're going to cover this, and we're going to put more white on top, This is just, the first layer. We have a bunch of layers. We're going to have a lot of clouds in here. Never going to be building this up. It's going to get really busy. And I always say, you have to really pay attention when you're doing your eye where the light is going. So where is the light going? Okay? And you really do want to pay attention to that. So this is step one. And I think we're maybe like 15 minutes in when we started. And I'll show you what it looks like upside down. So you can see all that wonderful texture. Right? So you're not looking at it. Super realistic. And you can see it like this. And we've got a long way to go. And it's going to be really, really thick. These clouds are really going to be popping. And I'm going to build this up. I'm going to put some more color here on the horizon line. And I'm really going to define this dark area here, just along the borders of this water lake. I'm going to pick up some of the colors from the sky when I do that. And I'm just using a small brush. And we'll just be bringing a little bit more detail into these areas and then wiping them off. So come back and join me again. We'll finish this maybe in about another 15 minutes, right, where we get the layers down, at least where we want it to be. Okay, so that's step one. See you later. Ciao.